Hi guys, welcome in if you are a first-time viewer. Welcome back if you are a returning viewer. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your subscribes, and to those of you who have booked a personal reading with me, please keep in mind that these are general messages, so do not take them personally. Take the messages that resonate and leave the rest behind. If you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can find the information in the description box below. Wow, it has only been a couple of days and it feels like it's been a week. I have missed you guys, not gonna lie. So the message that I received for today, before I turned on the camera, I started hearing phases and stages, which basically speaks to the process of development, right? So with the past full moon, we kind of entered this phase where we are entering a new cycle, right? Where there is the energy of a new beginning is starting to phase in, right? And with the new beginning, there comes new cycles, right? New habits, right? And within those cycles become new stages of development, right? New stages for growth, right? Seeing something through different forms within its life cycle, right? So within this new phase, there will be new lessons that you will have to learn. There will be new mindsets that you may have to open yourself up, right? New perceptions that you will have to learn to see, right? New cycles that you will have to kind of invest in, new habits that you may have to pick up, right? New lessons that you will have to learn. I don't know if I already said that, but definitely like new parts of yourself that you may have to get to know, new connections, new bonds, new relationships that you will have to form, right? So let's pull some cards to see what messages do you have for the collective at this time regarding this message. Help me to articulate a clear and concise message in order for it to be received in the way that you want it to best be received. Help me to see what it is that I need to see to get the message across as clear as possible. And help me to deliver any messages that you deem worthy in order to serve your highest good, for the highest good of humanity, with harm to none. What messages do you have for the collective at this time regarding this message? New phases and stages, right? There are also like grounded, new stages of development, right? There may be something that you have been building on with that grounded card showing itself, something that you have been kind of creating the foundation for that is getting ready to enter a new stage of development, right? This can be, again, a new lifestyle, a new career choice, a new connection, a new mindset, right? New habits, letting go of new addictions, right? You're going to have to learn how to operate within this new stage of development, right? And again, this is not something that you have ever experienced before. So this is going to be a completely new experience. I'm not going to say you're not going to have any knowledge, but you will be forced to kind of look into and adopt more phases of the new, right? It's almost as if like you're kind of realizing that something that you thought was whole may be a little bit more incomplete than what you intended it to be, right? Maybe you thought you were in this phase of healing and you thought that you had kind of moved past something, but this new phase is going to show you that there is more room for growth, right? Something is not as complete as you have thought it was, right? Your perspective, your idea, your intention, right, is not to say that it is not whole within itself, But again, phases and stages. So there is more room for growth within this area of development. This card has been coming up quite a lot in the past few readings. This Goddess card has showed itself as well. Right. So you may not be giving something as much love and attention as you perceive with solitary. This could be the fact that you are not allowing something the space to grow at a natural pace. It could be that you are trying to, or maybe you only have the perception to see something from your point of view, right? With the information that you are receiving, right? And so you're not it could be that you are not necessarily receiving the full picture of how something is growing, right? Again, if you think about bamboo, it's a plant that grows underneath the soil, right? Before it grows above ground, right? There's a little sprout that comes above ground, but the growing really happens underneath the soil. And once it is firmly rooted within the soil, that's when the growing on top of the soil happens at a rapid pace, right? Again, within a matter of days, right? Not weeks, not months, but it happens literally within a matter of days. And it's almost as if it too is like an invasive species, right? So once it takes root, once it is firmly planted in a way where it feels secure and healthy enough to grow, it sprouts so many more plants around it that it almost becomes uncontrollable, right? Again, that's kind of like the essence of invasive species, right? It grows at a rapid, uncontrollable pace. And so this is kind of like the frequency around what it is that you are manifesting. Something is growing underneath the soil. Something that you can't necessarily see the rate of the growth. You can't necessarily see the firmness of the growth and how the solidarity is taking like a firm foundation. But once it begins to show itself above ground or within your physical reality, it's going to take off within a rapid pace. So much so that you are not going to be able to, I'm not going to say you're not going to be able to handle the opportunities that are going to come in for you, but they're going to come in at such a rapid pace. Because I also received another message that's kind of connected to this one, but I'm going to save it for another video. Because that one is a bit of a hefty message as well. But it seems as if you're kind of like what it is that you're receiving, the perception that you are receiving is not the reality of what is taking place. Again, it's almost as if you could be trying to gain another level of understanding within this cycle, within this new development, right? Again, this new development can be a new lifestyle for you. This new development can be a sense of relocation. It can be a new career path. It can be a new connection. It can be just a new mindset, a new way of thinking, a new faith, right? Something that you are exploring in a sense. It definitely is not showing itself to the full extent in which it's growing, to the rate at which it's growing, right? And it almost feels as if because you do not have a full understanding of how this new development is growing in this new phase, it's almost as if you're kind of eager to pull up the root, right? To start something new. Because you don't, again, like you planted the seed, and because you're not seeing it, it's like you're watering it. But because you're not seeing the result on top of the soil, you're almost ready to pull up the root and plant something else because you feel as if it's not going to bear healthy fruit. But this is only, again, one viewpoint, one perspective, one way of seeing things. Because it is growing. It's growing underneath the soil. Let's pull some cards. And you know for a fact that whatever it is growing, because this is giving Empress energy, right? And the Empress has the ability to manifest whatever it is that she desires, right? She receives, right? The Empress receives whatever it is that she kind of envisions for herself, right? She has all four queens, right? She's every woman. She's all four queens: the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. So she has a very strong sense of discernment. She has a very strong, like, loving connection to the things in which she cares for, right? She has a very strong intuitive connection to different levels of currency, right? Meaning she has the ability to attract the things that she desires. Also, that Queen of Wands energy, she's very beautiful, very attractive, right? Very stable in her ways, very connected to the divine within that spiritual sense, right? Also very giving. But if she kind of feels, if at any moment she kind of feels that what she is pouring effort to is not equaling in an like a beneficial return, or like what she's giving to is not returning itself in equal or greater value, she's not hesitant to let it go with that Queen of Swords, right? Sometimes the Queen of Swords can be very cold, right? Very disconnected from their emotions. Very like once they see something, like she's not afraid to use that sword, right? She's not afraid to speak her truth. She's not afraid to kind of say things how she sees it, right? And so it's almost as if maybe you are operating in more of a Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands energy, right? Where you are focused on manifesting something, and anything that does not kind of add to that fire or kind of feed the fuel of that fire, it's almost as if like you're not afraid to let it go, right? You're very focused. You're very determined on what it is that you are creating, right? You are focused on maintaining this energy of purification. And so that means releasing anything that kind of taints that energy, that feeling, that perspective of, like, if something comes in with the space of confusion, like, let it go. That's kind of what this feels like. Because you're focused on bringing something to life. You're focused on manifesting something. This is giving like Queen of Wands energy. but also in a sense of like manifesting your desires, and anything that is not adding to that desire is taking away from it. And so there's no space for that. There's no space for the energy of neutrality. Clarified the goddess. The Three of Swords. The Four of Wands. With the Fool card and the Nine of Swords. This could be because, well, the Three of Swords came out in the reverse. It's almost as if you don't want to reiterate that frequency of heartbreak, whatever this is, right? That frequency of failure, that frequency of being let down. The Empress does not, like, whatever you are bringing in, you don't want that vision to kind of reflect what it is that you have already came from. And right now I'm feeling like a little bit like emotional in a sense. Right? So there could be, again, like something could be a very touchy subject for you. Your heart could be a very sensitive topic. And so you're very guarded in that sense of not letting something get too close out of fear of kind of, I guess, fear of rejection, right? In whatever sense that of the way that means for you, right? Whether that means something not growing within a sense in which you are hoping it will, or something kind of becoming a missed opportunity where you are hoping for something to go into a new direction. You're hoping to explore something to a different sense, and the opportunity is kind of cut short. Right. But again, there's some sense of the way in which you are very protective. You're very guarded because you're almost overthinking your past in a way of in which what you're bringing in, you're kind of like hoping or wishing that it will look like something different than what you've experienced in the past. Right. You don't want it to be a reflection of where you have come from. You want honesty. You want truth. You want clear direction. You want clear purpose. You want equality. You want something to match what it is that you are investing in, right? Equal or greater value. Nothing of lesser return. So if something is appearing that it is a lesser investment, there's a blockage, that's a boundary that's immediately set because there's a new direction, there's a new phase, there's a new journey that you're looking to go on, and anything that does not reflect what that new journey is for you, you're letting it go. But also keep in mind that because this is a new phase, because this is something that you have never experienced before, you cannot judge something based off of your perception. Because again, your perception is only based on what it is that you have experienced, the things that you have seen, the things that you have been through, right? And this new journey, like I don't know why I'm feeling so overwhelmed with emotion. Clarify this overwhelmed with emotion. The Nine of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. You're building something. Right. You have a lot to offer. You have a lot to give. Right. And there's also, this is also a place of vulnerability that you are existing in, right? The process of birthing something or bringing something to life is a very vulnerable and sensitive phase, right? It's something that should be protected. It's something that you kind of have to use a different level of senses to kind of understand the connection to what it is that you are giving life to, right? To how to bring or what it needs mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? In any sense of currency, right? In any sense of investment, you have to use a different level of senses that is not necessarily one that can be seen with the physical eye, not necessarily one that can be heard with the physical ear, but more so seen with the spiritual eye and heard with the spiritual ear, right? Not everybody has those senses, but bringing something to life is a spiritual thing, right? Giving birth to something, whether you're giving birth to a physical child, that is a spiritual journey, right? Even though it happens in the physical, it is a spiritual journey. Bringing a business to life is a spiritual journey. Bringing a new idea into the physical reality is a spiritual journey, right? So there is a spiritual sense that you are having to tap into that you may be kind of, I don't want to say ignoring your intuitive nudges, but because of the way, look, the Six of Wands and the Magician, because of how it's showing up, you may not, it's still being created in that physical sense, right? Underneath the soil, right? The foundation of something is still being built in the spiritual sense. Underground. It's not something that you can see, right? And so because your perception is kind of thrown off in that way, because it's not something that's in the forefront of your reality, you may be kind of hesitant or eager to kind of block it off because of what you can or cannot see, right? Because you also know that whatever it is that you're bringing into life is something that people are watching, right? People are watching you, whether these are people from your past who are kind of spying on you to kind of see and watch the growth that you have made, right from the Nine of Pentacles to the Queen of Pentacles to the Empress, right? Those are 3 stages of development, right? All within the same process or within the same journey of growth, right? You enter 3 phases, right? You go from the Nine of Pentacles to the Queen of Pentacles to the Empress, right? They all have the same abilities. They all have the same frequencies. But those gifts and those talents and the knowledge that is acquired to kind of bring those things in goes through different phases of development to strengthen those gifts, to strengthen that perception, to strengthen those talents, to strengthen the experiences that you will go through in the future, right? The knowledge that you have, the wisdom that you will gain from the lessons that you learn within experiencing those elements of creation, right? Bringing something to life. Because whatever it is that she's creating, she's bringing it into full bloom. Is kind of what I'm like seeing here. Something is going from the budding stages into full bloom. But also, again, like, please keep in mind that you are, this new phase, this new journey is not a reflection of the things that you have experienced in your past, right? It's not something that you will have to relive. It's not an experience that you will have to go through again. It's not a sense of heartbreak. There's not a lesson, because the Three of Swords came out in reverse, right? That speaks to, you even may be causing like a disruption within the healing process of matters of the heart, right? Whether that's opening yourself up, being emotionally vulnerable because you are afraid of the reflection in which you see. So something can be presenting itself in the way in which you present yourself, right? Growing underneath the soil and not on the forefront of the physical reality. And because that reflection is there, it's almost as if you're kind of hesitant to see the reality in the equal investment in which you are resonating with. Clarify unappreciated. But also, there's something like you are meant to, right, the Ten of Swords. There's also something that you, with this Queen, the Six of Wands and this Queen of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles, whatever it is that you are creating is meant to be seen, right? It's meant to influence others, right? It's there because how you're creating, how you're growing, what it is that you're creating, and at the rate in which it's coming through is meant to be sort of a testimony for your growth, for how far you have come, right? Within such a matter of time, right? It's something that will influence others, inspire others, motivate others, right? And how flexible you are within the transformation that occurs in your life. You're on the forefront. People are watching you. Things are watching you, right? You're meant to be seen, right? Whether that's within the people around you, whether that's within like your family members, whatever it is that you're creating, whatever it is that you are bringing forth within this new life, it's meant to be seen. And so while you are trying to hide it, while you are trying to disconnect yourself from it, while you are trying to kind of place this boundary up between you and this reflection of what it is that you're bringing into this new phase, it's meant to be seen. The growth of this, the transformation of this, the phases and stages of development that this process is taking you through is meant to be seen because it serves as an inspiration for those who admire you, for those who have witnessed your journey, right? Also with this Ten of Swords, again, there's that like, yeah, the Ten of Wands also showed itself, but I put it back. It's because you don't want to give more of an investment than what it is that you're receiving, right? You may be still placing yourself in this victim mode of what you have experienced, right? Instead of like it's almost as if, how can I put this into words? Because there's a difference between protecting yourself from something and putting up a boundary, a healthy boundary, in order to preserve your growth, right? And although within your mind, within your perspective, right, you pulling up that root from your perspective, from your point of view, it seems as if you are protecting yourself from investing in something that is not going to return an equal or greater investment, right? But in reality, you're putting up a boundary, preventing its growth, right? Because you're pulling it up before it's ready to bear fruit. You can't receive an investment from something that's still in the rooting phase. Something has to be, and that's kind of like where you are. Because in your mind, you're kind of trying to stay out of this phase of giving more than what you're receiving, right? But again, you're not allowing something the space to grow because it's growing underneath the soil. It's growing spiritually. So therefore, you cannot see the physical growth because it's happening underneath the soil. It's happening in the subconscious. And before something can return a harvest to you, it has to take firm root. It has to maintain its own sense of health, right? It has to be able to maintain its own sense of stability, right? It has to be able to kind of sustain its own sense of life source, right? Without being completely dependent on what it is and the efforts in which you are pouring into it, but being more reliant on itself and the environmental factors that are pouring into it, right? And so just because you're not seeing the bamboo kind of shoot up as quickly because you feel like as if you are consistently nurturing it, that doesn't mean that you should pull up the root before it has a chance to grow. Because once it hits the top of that soil, it takes off at a rate in which you won't be able to control. You're going to have more than enough. And it's going to come in at such a consistent rate that, again, you're going to have more of a harvest than what you originally planted. But because you are kind of in this protection phase where you are kind of being mindful, right, with the Four of Pentacles, you're being mindful at the rate in which you give to something, how much you give of something, what you pour into it, right? Kind of like penny pinching, right? You can't water it 1 to 2 days out of the week and hope to see that it shoots up, right? And that it takes off, right? You have to consistently give to it so that you are able to kind of see the return of investment in which you gave to it, right? That's kind of that lesson in giving without expectation. But also being mindful in what you are investing in, right? The health in which you are investing in something, right? So it's not just about like what you are investing into something, but knowing that one day it will bear fruit, right? Not hoping, because you're the Empress. So there's a knowing. There's not a wish. There's not a hope. There's not a prayer. There's a spiritual connection that you have towards the things that you create in this life, right? So it's not something that you have to, even though you do have to rely on your faith, it's not something that you are solely relying on, right? Because you have other elements. With that Magician card showed up also over here. You have other elements that confirm the reliability into which the investment you are giving to is going to return a harvest of equal investment, right? I hope that makes sense how it came out. You're the Empress. So you know it's not something that you have a belief in, because you only believe in things that you don't know to be true. But you know for a fact that whatever you put your hands to, because you have the Midas touch here with the Nine of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles, you have the Midas touch. Whatever you touch, whatever you feed, whatever you nurture turns into gold. It transforms, right? You have the ability to transform life, right? And so whatever it is that you put your hands to, you know for a fact that it's going to return an investment, right? Whether it shows up in the same way that you poured effort into it, or of equal or greater value, right? But never of a lesser return. Because there's progression from the Nine of Pentacles, from the Queen of Pentacles to the Empress. There's a progression into the things in which you put your hands to. Everything that you nurture multiplies. It does not decrease in value. It increases times 10 to the infinite, right? Clarify, alchemic. the Eight of Swords, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Tower, the Chariot. There's a need to kind of, you have kind of put yourself into this kind of self-imprisonment, right? Like a mental prison where you're overthinking the efforts of something, right? Which is causing the foundation to crumble, right? Again, pulling up the root before it's ready to bear fruit. And so because you're going out there thinking, I'm nurturing this every day and it's not growing, you're pouring negative thoughts into what it is that you're nurturing, right? And so what is that going to return? The Tower, the crumbling of a foundation, right? But it also brings a sense of enlightenment to how you're giving to something, to what you're pouring into. What are the consistent thoughts that you are feeding as you nurture something, right? How are you speaking to something that you are hoping to receive an equal or greater value of investment or return to something, right? How are you caring for this? How are you nurturing this, right? How are you hoping for it to show up, right? With the Goddess of Cups. You have to be a little bit more emotionally intelligent about the efforts in which you pour into something, right? Because if you speak to a plant negatively, it will die quicker than a plant that speaks positively, right? Whether you believe it or not, your words have a resonance of frequency, right? And whatever it is that you're giving life to receives that resonance of frequency, right? So are you pouring life into the things that you are nurturing, or are you trying to diminish the life in which you are hoping to receive an investment and a return from, right? So are you pouring in doubt? Are you pouring in discouragement, right? Are you pouring in lack of faith? Or are you giving it your hope? Are you giving it the space to grow at a natural rate, right? Are you giving it faith, right? Are you feeding it confidence, courage, right? All of those things that encourage the growth in which you are hoping to see investment from, right? You can't look to see a growth in your business, or growth in your career, or growth within a connection, or growth within a new lifestyle, or a new habits, right? Or the releasing of an addiction, right? You can't hope to see a positive effect from that if you are hoping, wishing, and yearning, or pouring into it within a sense of discouragement, a sense of doubt, a sense of lack of faith, right? Those things are not going to return a positive investment. So definitely be mindful of that. All right, let's pull 4 cards. One card for what we can learn as the major lesson surrounding this message. One card for the opportunities we can create surrounding this message. One card for what we can meditate on as the focus of this message. And one card for the new cycles and habits we can innovate to contribute to our growth and expansion surrounding this message. This is not necessarily a negative message. It is just one of enlightenment, right? Where it is reminding you to stay mindful about how you are stepping into this new phase. Be mindful about the phase you are in within watching something grow in this process of development, right? Where are you? Are you protecting yourself, or are you setting unhealthy boundaries? One card for what we can learn as the major lesson surrounding this message. Liberation and soul forgiveness. Free yourself from those things from the past, from that sense of discouragement, from that lack of doubt, from that lack of faith, right? Because you are the Empress. You know that whatever it is that you pour effort into is going to be returned to you at an infinite rate, right? You have that knowing. You have the evidence, right? From past experiences, from past habits, from your connection to God, Source, the Most High, right? You have a firm knowing. You have the confidence to know that whatever it is that you pour your effort into is going to grow healthily, right? It's going to grow wealthily, right? And so keep that in mind, that you're not giving to something that's not going to return an equal or greater value, because that's not the position that God has placed you in, right? You're not going back where you came from. This is a completely new phase. And so you have to be willing to see something through the various phases and stages of development through its life cycle, right? Whatever this new business is, whatever this new idea is, whatever this new lifestyle is, whatever this new career path is, right? Whatever this new journey is that you are embarking on, it's going through a new life cycle. And so if this is something that you are looking to commit to, you have to be willing to see it through all phases and stages of development within its entire life cycle, right? Not just within the season of harvest, but also the rooting, right? Before it gets to the sprout. You have to be willing to know that before you even see the sprout, that it's creating firm roots underneath the soil, right? You have to have that knowing. You have to have that faith, right? You have to have that understanding that things go through phases and stages of development. And you have to be willing to be disciplined in your mind, in your faith, in your heart, right? In your spirit. You have to be grounded within all of those elements to know that you cannot let your mind overtake what it is that you can perceive within the physical reality, because your mind will run away with you if you let it. So definitely keep that in mind. One card for the opportunities we can create. Good juju. Marie Laveau, radical rebirth. You create abundance. You create wealth. You create success. You create confidence. You create strength. You create courage. Whatever it is that you put your hands to, manifest. It shifts. It transforms with this 5 here. It creates new life, more life, right? Nothing you put your hands to represents negativity, right? It represents more investment. It represents new life. It represents new cycles, new journeys, new pathways, right? New opportunities, right? New ideas, new mindsets, new perspectives, new way of seeing things, right? New points. Like it multiplies whatever it is that you pour into it, right? It creates more in addition to. And so you have to, again, know that whatever this is that you are pulling up before it's ready to bear fruit, be mindful of that, right? Be mindful of the rebirth or the stages and phases of development that this new opportunity, this new space, this new manifestation is going through, right? You have to keep that in mind. That is that you have to become balanced within that element within yourself, right? Within your mind, your heart, your spirit, right? Being spiritual is not just about creating things, but it's also about like remaining grounded, right? It's not just about being so in the subconscious that you are so distant from the physical reality. And it's also not being so conscious that you are distant from the subconscious. It's being balanced within the elements of the two, right? And so you have to know how to maintain that balance, how to remain grounded within your faith, but also remain balanced within knowing that things go, again, through certain transformations before you see the harvest, right? You don't bear fruit the same day you plant the seed. One card for what we can meditate on as the focus of this message: desire and seasons, phases and stages of growth. Manifestations go through phases and stages of growth. The creation from an idea to the physical birthing of it goes through phases and stages of development, right? So again, meditating and focusing on the fact that, again, every single thing that you create, whether that be a connection of any kind, friendship, family, romantic, business partnership, acquaintanceships, neighborhoodship, right? A relationship within your community, right? Whether you have a connection with, again, an idea that you have, or you have a connection with your career path, or you have a connection to like a business or entrepreneurship, or whatever it is that you are creating, right? The things that you desire, the things that you yearn for, the things that you connect yourself to spiritually, in which you are bringing them from a spiritual sense to a physical sense. It all goes through seasons, right? And so again, focus on not pulling the root up before it has a chance to bear fruit. One card for the new cycles and habits we can innovate to contribute to our growth and expansion. Shame and truth. Again, being in touch with the honesty of reality, right? Being in touch with the journey of growth, right? Being committed to the journey of growth, right? To this journey of vulnerability, right? It's not a straightforward path, and it's going to look different for every single person watching this message, right? For every single person who's not watching this message, for every single person going through life in general, right? It looks differently, right? Just because they took steps A through Z, that doesn't mean that A through Z is going to work for you. You may have to start with C. You may have to start with F. Some of you may have to start with Z, right? It's no two journeys are the same within this lifetime. And so definitely be mindful of that, right? No two plants grow the same. They do not require the same environments. They do not require the same elements to maintain a healthy sense of growth. So definitely keep all those things in mind when you are committing yourself to the things that in which you are manifesting, right? You have to be mindful and intentional about the elements in which each thing that you are manifesting requires, right? The grace and the space, right? To allow each individual element to grow at its own individual pace, right? For them to go through their own, each individual phases and stages of development, right? In which is required of them to be beneficial to their growth and stability, right? But that is the message that I have for you guys. I hope that it resonated. I know for a fact that if you made it to the end of this video, you have found something in it that is worthy and valuable to you. If you feel like this message resonated, please feel free to press that like button, subscribe if you want to watch more videos, put a comment in the box if you want to talk about how this message resonated for you, or the areas in which you need to commit yourself to being more disciplined within the phases and stages of your own personal growth and development in your own journey, right? Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.